Alrighty, so welcome back to Meet the Locals. I am Shay, and today we are here with Jose Dominguez.
Hi, I'm Jose Dominguez. I'm a part of the Rise, Resilient, Inspired, Strong, and Engaged, and I'm a youth leader here in Colorado Springs.
Okay. I like how you described yourself as a youth leader because that's very much what I've gotten to know you as.
Yeah.
I've had the fortune of working with Jose in a few different capacities, actually. So, what first inspired you to get into community work?
Community work for me, it never existed because I never got this professional kind of definition of what it was, but I got involved with, I guess I would say, got in trouble myself in the past, and went through the system, and I realized that there has to be advocacy put into place so that way someone like myself who used to be a straight A student didn't have to be depleted from the opportunities because of one error that happened in his life. So that's what I'm kind of got me into this work field.
Okay. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you got your beginnings into community work, into how you have a few different things that you're involved with now?
Yeah, it all started when I was COVID, 16 years old. Everyone was alone at their house, and the only person that you could contact in school was either your counselor or your friends. And at times, I guess your friends just really want to party. So I decided to go above and beyond, contact my counselor, do a 5-year plan, and be like, what can I do to get myself on the correct path? Because right now, the only thing to do is take advantage since the career paths are not really existing as of now. So she guided me to Catamount Institute, which does camp counseling. From camp counseling, I met the executive director, Chris Obi, and he really liked my presence as a youth leader trying to make a change. And then I joined BOLT, which is Building Outdoor Leaders Today, which is a program made by Catamount Institute. And then I got into a panel, and that's where I met Jareski Rose. I'm sure you're all familiar with her. And she invited me to be a part of the YAC, Youth Advisory Council. And from then on, the Youth Advisory Council has been a really, really big catalyst for my career.
And when you say the Youth Advisory Council, you mean for the construction of Panorama Park, correct?
Correct.
What was that process like?
It was pretty phenomenal in the aspect that I was 16, 17, and then 18, learning all of the city planning, what it takes to do stakeholder meetings, and working with Julie as a youth participant. And then now that I'm doing the youth assistant coordinator, I'm 19, so that's really, really cool.
Yeah. What would you say, the first taste of like professional community building for you?
The first taste of community okay. So from there, it would be stakeholder meetings, attending the stakeholder meetings and being there as a youth, and then from there actually speaking of what I wanted and asking questions. And then from there, for me was, it's a good question. I'm thinking about it. So, I really haven't done any real organizing besides just being a participant and just, I guess, advocating for what it was for.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the importance to you of being particularly a young person that's doing community advocacy?
What is the importance? I want to make sure that change is possible and pathways are created so people know that young folk can also create an existing boundary, and break them.
What were some of the obstacles that you have experienced in, so I know a little bit about Jose personally, but like in your journey to self-sustainment and entrepreneurship, what have been some obstacles to you creating the life that you want to live?
The biggest setback or barrier for me would be family, having to explain myself to my family, even though I don't know my full plan yet, but I know that it exists because mentors around me see it in me. Financially speaking, I've had to deal with many jobs and try to fulfill that flexible time, since an employer doesn't really care about your life goals unless you express it to them, and even at times they kind of make that and use it as a devil's advocate and make your work life harder. So right now it's just been financially and being able to convince my parents to back off. It's okay. I might not be in college right now, but I know that in a couple of years, building this resume will help me out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of times we get into situations with our parents where they have the idea of what they want for us, and that doesn't necessarily always align with what we want for ourselves. Um, how would you say that making the decision to wait to go to college has affected your resume building?
Okay, delaying college has helped me in the aspect of learning what career fields I want to put myself in instead of just jumping onto a platform where I say, college, this is what I want to major and minor in. Now I have the opportunity to, I guess, beat around the bush, is what my parents say, um, and figure out what I really want. And I get to put myself in a. Right now, I'm working with Centro Familia, which advocates for families who have suffered violence or domestic abuse, and trying to figure out a gateway to control their own lives now again instead of being controlled by the oppressor.
Where where is the root of your drive, I guess? What pushes you to do the things that you do?
What pushes me to do the things that I do? What makes me wake up every single day in the morning?
Yeah, and be excellent.
Um, that's a good question again. So I'm trying to think in my head, what do I do? I kind of wake up a little late, just to the fact that I have to balance work, and then I also have a girlfriend who I've been with for almost 3 years now. She helped me battle the big obstacle of, I got in trouble when I was a youth. I was going to be, uh, like, I was in the DA, no, what is it called? Juvenile Detention Center for a couple days, and that was because of an incident that was self-defense. So that was something in its whole cell where I'm still battling it today and trying to figure out how to come back from it. It was a charge that will be expunged since I was a minor, but that has been a biggest barrier for me, trying to come back from that and explain what makes that's what would make me wake up every day, is trying to like advocate for youth who are at risk and not learning their self-identity yet. But I want to help guide that.
Yeah. If you could talk to a group of these students who you've described as at risk, what would you like if you had a big sign or if you had a megaphone and you could give them one message? What would you say?
Be involved. Everything is VIP until you're a very involved person.
Personally, advocacy for me has always been a large part of who I am. I grew up in a family situation where it was always stressed to me like, um, they say it takes a village to raise a child.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always been very normalized for me to be in a community aspect. It was always expected of me to be educated and to strive for knowledge and to do better than maybe the circumstances that I came from. So I think those things all together kind of created the perfect storm within me, also being a very opinionated person of my own. Um, I always knew I wanted to help people. I always knew that it was in my destiny to serve, and I just didn't know what that service looked like. I decided to make the choice to go to college right after high school, and it was a lot of me learning who I was going to be, and I didn't necessarily know what was going to come out of that experience. But I was fortunate enough in that I had I was able to join groups and organizations and learn more about my culture as a black person, what it means to educate in that space, to do advocacy. I had the opportunity to get involved with the NAACP down in Pueblo. I also joined a sorority. I was a part of the Young Dems. So I was learning how to channel all of the feelings and insights that I had. And it took a while for me to realize that even as a young person, I still have an experience that is worthy of being talked about. And it is a facet of the community that I live in. So once I became more comfortable and less feeling like that imposter syndrome, once I stopped feeling like I wasn't good enough to be able to do the work that I do, things kind of really took off for me. I realized the importance of just showing up, because a lot of times we run into each other all the time, because there's not that many people our age that are doing the things that we do. And I think that's also another thing that inspires me to continue, because we feel as though, or we can be made to feel as though it's not our place because we don't know as much. But like, your experience and my experience is just as valuable as anybody else's lived experience. So I'm walking that journey right now.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, for myself, I kind of give myself a path where it's very forgiving, because I don't have to present myself as a professional. In the sense as going to college, it's kind of like, oh, you're already set in stone what you want to do, but it's not true. But right now, I'm just kind of going the path where it's very forgiving.
Yeah. I think that's very important for young people to have the opportunity, whether that's in college, outside of college, to develop your sense of self, your sense of identity. Because, I mean, from my personal experience, that's why a lot of people don't finish. They go in with this idea that this is what I want to do. And then they start learning more about what it actually takes to do that. And you're like, well, maybe I'm not that interested in this. Or they start to reevaluate the reasons why they wanted to do it in the first place.
Yep.
So I think taking the time to get to know yourself and what you truly want to do with your time, it only benefits you. It doesn't hurt you in any capacity.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, we run into each other quite often. Yeah. How do you feel that we can engage more young people in community activism?
Community activism, it's been an ongoing issue in my head where I'm trying to figure out how do I get more people involved. As I'm the youth assistant coordinator, so I'm kind of indulged in trying to get other youth involved in creating, I guess right now our biggest project is Sand Creek Trail renovation. So we went to the Parks and Board, asked for $30,000 to ask for lighting, benches, and art. And what's the best way to bring youth, I guess, would be art, giving them some sense of ownership for graffiti. I guess something that might be like, oh, I kind of mischievously did it. But we're trying to figure out how to get the trail involved with art. And then from there, we're going to be able to hopefully get people enthusiastic about change you can make, resident-led change that you can do. And then from there, maybe contact other organizations like Citizens Project to do civic engagement and civic duties. Civic responsibility, that's a really, really big thing for young folk, to be involved and be present in the electoral comings.
Yeah. I've noticed that a lot of the advocacy you do focuses on outdoors, like parks and recreation. Mm-hmm. What is your background in parks and recreation, and how did you get into it?
Catamount Institute. I was a camp counselor for 12 weeks, 2 years, 2 summers, and I was a paid internship where I was given the ability to give education as well as being outdoors. Being a camp counselor is really all about finding out lesson plans, figuring out how you can implement that in an outdoor, like ever-changing like classroom. Sometimes we'd have to do the lesson plan outside, sometimes we have to do it inside, sometimes we have to change the whole day just because it was too cold, and we had to figure out how to implement, I guess, being outside but not uncomfortably to still learn. That's my background in parks and recreation. Yeah.
Would you say that you have a passion for it, or is it something that you just kind of
I have a passion for it right now. Yeah. So far, I haven't thought of changing it because there's always time to change, but parks outside is pretty good. Being a part of an organization called Catamount Institute that have funding to allow for different pathways, and one of my pathways or passions is I'm from the Latino community, so I really wanted to embrace more community that's Latino to come to those camps. And I talked to the Emily Tamayo, who's the Generation Wild coordinator, and we actually did a 2-day outdoors with Latinos, and it was all in Spanish. And I brought my family out there. We had other families. We had a total of 6 families come out, so that's 50 people for 2 days overnight. The first time most likely ever camping officially instead of just backyard with no tent in the trampoline. So that was pretty beneficial for the community. This year we're going to be doing it again. We're having some planning, logistical things still going on, but here coming soon we're going to get the flyer. Our goal is to bring the Youth Advisory Council on board, but it all just depends on people's schedules. Hopefully we're able to do a hike and see a waterfall here in Colorado Springs. Not Springs, Colorado, like I think it's Alamosa or somewhere nearby. Colorado's a big state. We'll find something in the nooks and crannies.
Yeah. What is the importance or what is the relevance of having minorities, especially in your case as it pertains to Latinos, engage in outdoor recreation?
The biggest benefit of having not just one race, but all races involved would be the diversity and the understanding of each culture individually. We are all essentially BIPOC people, Black, Indigenous people of color, but not a lot of people understand that, and it takes being outdoors to be able to comprehend where we all come from.
How would you say being outside bridges that gap of understanding?
So there's this thing that's kind of like a funny thing, but it's we went outside and there was a professional who came out, a guest speaker who did outside therapy, and she literally sat us down, and I guess that's what makes me feeling outside in therapy, smelling everything, I guess understanding and closing your eyes and taking a deep breath, hearing the birds chirp, the wind rustling with the leaves, and that gave me an imagination that turns from black to creatively thinking like, whoa, this is what the world is like, and I'm a guest here and I have to take care of it.
So we've talked a lot about what you've done up until this point. What are some things that you have coming up that you're excited about in the future?
Some things that I'm pretty excited about is the Sand Creek Trail, involving the community in volunteering and doing cleanup in their own community. Doing a summer series at Panorama Park, summer series starting June. We're going to have every weekend for 4 weekends. A new event, kind of mini concert series. So embracing the first summer Panorama will ever exist in. And bringing local artists, vendors, and then hopefully in the future, one of the biggest things I'm pretty excited about is Citizens Project. They're going to do a what is it called? Rock Fest, Voting Fest?
Yeah, voting
type
fest.
of thing. But that's something I'm really proud about is hopefully in the coming years. And it won't happen this summer, but it'll happen soon. Yeah, so
Yeah.
for me, that's my biggest things that I'm excited about.
Yeah, that's awesome. In a perfect world, where are you in 5 years, and then where are you again in 10 years?
Okay, so in 5 years, I'm going to be 20 in July 17th, so 25 years old. Hopefully, I'll be able to run for some kind of office. That's what my predicament would be, as a lot of mentors have told me. And then in 10 years, when I'm 30 years old, that'll be a big number. My mom right now is currently, I think, 31. So she had me when she was pretty young. So it'll be a big obstacle, or I guess, not what it's called. It's milestone for me.
Yeah.
So 30, I haven't thought about it yet. I guess I'll flip the question on you.
Okay.
Where would you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
I'm kind of working my dream job right now. Being able to serve my community and create events as well as programs that benefit the place that I live, getting people involved in the community, are all things that I've always been extremely passionate about. So hopefully what I would like to see is us in the next 5 years be able to grow Citizens Project into a community name where people know that if they are in need of services, they can call on CP to either directly provide them or to get them in the right direction.
That's good.
Yeah. And then in 10 years, I don't know. I have a tendency to find myself walking into opportunities quite often. So I don't know if I'll still be at CP in 10 years, but hopefully I will be still doing something that allows me to serve the community and help the people in my community create the lives they want to live.
That's good. Yeah. See, it's hard to think of something like set in stone, but yeah, when you see opportunity and you're looking for opportunities, you'll always find opportunities, and that's great to hear that you're always finding yourself in opportunities, because a lot of times we are uncertain about our future, and that's what causes us to fail, is we self-sabotage ourselves. You think of, oh, I'm going to fail, and then you end up self-sabotaging yourself. So far, I guess I'm glad that I've been able to find a lot of opportunities, and a big, broad circle would be philanthropy, would be what I would see myself in 10 years. My goal, or one of my gold nuggets, was create a nonprofit called Small Victories, which kind of allows the vision of you're able to do anything and everything, including with at-risk youth, allowing them that pathway to build themselves up and kind of refer different organizations depending on their needs. So I'd be finding myself in the philanthropy area, trying to figure out how I can do grant writing, fundraising. That'd be when I'm 30 years old.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm sure you definitely have exciting things coming up in your future. If you said you're turning 20 this year, if you could give a message to your 16-year-old self, what would you say?
My 16th-year-old self goes back to what we just said earlier, would be involved. Don't just go out and party. Go out and actually talk to your counselor, figure out what they see in you, because you probably don't see it yet, but where you can fill in the gaps and where you can do the extra work to be a VIP. Yeah.
Well, we just want to say thank you so much for being our latest guest on Meet the Locals. We were more than happy to have you. How can we get in touch with you? Or how can we follow your exploits?
As of right now, I don't have any social media that indicates like Jose Dominguez, but it'd be my personal page where it says Jose Dominguez. I'm a person that looks just like this with curly hair. I don't know. I wouldn't say too much about where to contact me besides Rise Southeast.
Okay, well, in either case, even if we do not hear directly from you, I'm sure we'll be seeing what you're doing in the future. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for waiting for me and having the ability to be here.
Thanks.